Sarah, welcome back.
Good to be back. Shall we crack straight into the questions?
No
today?
chit chat, straight in, no kissing.
We're chomping at the bit here. Anthony, who is the athlete, cyclist, or any other sport that is worth a follow on social media?
Cyclists or any other sport? Now, I'm going to stay with cyclists because I'm not going to get into that quagmire. I suppose it depends what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you're looking for super motivational stuff, if you want to look at somebody's lifestyle, like if you want pictures of their watches that cost 300 grand, there's plenty of those out there.
Puck Moonen is probably Puck Moonen for all of that.
Puck Moonen for her bib shorts and sports bra combos and very dramatic flick of the hair. I absolutely love Puck Moonen. I think it's astonishing the amount of creeps that comment on her social media posts. It's quite frightening, actually.
My actual account is, I actually don't follow Puck Moonen, but my account is I_simp_Alaphilippe. That's my account. It's just absolutely hilarious. They have a post there today about UCI teams without aero ear covers are being forced to cut off their ears to stay competitive. It's absolutely brilliant.
It's really funny.
Picture a Wout van Aert with no ears.
Simp. Yeah, no, I don't think I simp. For anybody who's over the age of 35 and doesn't know what a simp means, it means basically you're in love with them.
Simp Alaphilippe.
I simp Alaphilippe big time. Oh, he's like the housewife's favourite. I definitely follow him on
So who's your
social
must
media.
follows?
My must follow is Tadej Pogačar because his accounts are absolutely hysterical. He's so funny. He documents absolutely everything.
Is this just because you met him last week?
I met him last week.
Sarah and Pogačar are friends now.
We'll put the photo up.
Oh, friend. Daddy.
I wish. He was so nice. Do you know what? Everyone always talks about what a legend he is, how sweet he is, how professional he is. And I was over there meeting him with a load of other journalists, and he probably is the last place he wants to be. He probably wants to be out riding his bike, but he was still so friendly, had time for everybody, had time for all our questions, jumped in a couple of photos with everyone. So yeah, Pogačar.
Did you come away with an eating disorder? That's why I'd be worried about meeting him.
No. Do you know what? He is lean. That is for sure. He is, I can confirm, Pogačar is lean. Very, very lean. Okay, the other person do you know that Cristiano Ronaldo, if you're looking for somebody, he has the most amount of followers on Instagram as an individual.
On the entire platform?
Yeah, over 618 million followers. Like, that's insane. I think he is definitely worth a follow. Ronaldo, we love him. He's an insane athlete. All of the stuff is very highly curated, though. It's not like the Pogačar stuff where it's a bit more raw, a bit funnier. But I think Cristiano Ronaldo is a really good one to check out. And a really amazing social to follow is Lucy Charles. She's the world champ at the moment of the Ironman distance triathlon, I'm going to say. Her content is brilliant. I don't know how she does it.
Her YouTube's very good.
Her YouTube's amazing. She documents absolutely everything that she does, and she's just the darling of triathlon, I think, at the moment. Everyone loves her. She just seems like a sweetheart. So
I'm going to throw in a curveball. Cyrus Monk.
Oh, yes.
We were watching his videos before the start of it. They have one GCN Plus, obviously closed down, probably a couple of months ago at this stage. And side note, it's such a nightmare watching cycling at the moment. I have Discovery Plus. It's shocking.
Yeah, it's hard to find anything on it. GCN Plus, we were so spoiled. It was amazing. And that's really been trending on cycling Twitter at the moment. Like, where am I going to watch racing? I'm in the States. A VPN won't work. Discovery Plus won't work for me. So it's such a shame that GCN Plus.
So Cyrus wrote a song about this. So Cyrus is worth a follow. I follow him over on Twitter and he's hilarious. He's probably on Instagram as well. He rides for Q36.5. Interesting fact on that one. I met the founder of Q36.5, not the team, the brand, at Roller last year, and he was one of the founders or co-founders of ASOS. Then he sold ASOS, had a non-compete clause, so he couldn't get involved in cycling apparel. That expired, and then he went and founded Q36.5, which is really nice.
It's a really
custom kit.
Yeah, that is really, really nice. And the thing that Cyrus is doing, it kind of kicked off, I feel like it was during COVID and lockdowns, where he essentially makes instruments out of everything. I don't know where.
Panadol packets.
At least it's not tramadol.
It would be more fitting to be like Stilnox sleeping tablets or something for a pro cyclist.
Go and check that out. It's absolutely hysterical. He's very talented. Very talented.
As a musician. He's a good bike rider too.
Okay, next question. This is from Chris B. Anthony, how do I go faster but at a lower heart rate? I'm averaging 160 to 170 for my rides and I can't seem to get this down at all. Oh, welcome to the club, Chris. This is me.
Oh, you're just going too hard. You're maybe training with the wrong group if you're going out with 160, 170. So without this turning into a real nerdy science corner, we've different heart rate bands, and in each of those different called zones, and in each of those different zones, we get a different physiological adaptation. We want to spend around 80% of our time in around zone 2, which is a much, much lower heart rate than he's talking about here. So the ways to do that, it's regular training, as unglamorous as that sounds. That's going to improve your cardiovascular efficiency, and it's going to allow your heart to pump more blood per beat, meaning it doesn't have to beat as frequently to get that amount of blood to your working muscles. You could try and focus more on deep sort of rhythmic breathing. That could bring your heart rate down as well and be a little bit more mindful of the effort. Hydration could also be an issue. Last one's just managing your effort on climbs. If you're going super, super hard up climbs, remember when we started, you used to think you had to like accelerate.
Surge.
Like Sarah ride the first 50 meters of climb at 500 watts and then like be pushing her bike like 50 meters later.
You'd be pushing me on the bike up the rest of it. I think the heart rate thing is interesting because it's certainly something have a very high heart rate, Chris, and that's what I kind of focused on this winter, was going out and doing those really long, very slow rides. You have to do them on your own because you don't want to feel pressure to keep up with somebody, stay with someone's wheel, chat, even talking. So I would say,
if you can't talk, actually, that's a good one.
Yeah,
because if you can't talk,
you're in the wrong zone.
You're in the wrong zone. You're typically in zone 3 or above, and that's like a rate of perceived exertion of 7 or above. You want to be in a more 5 to 6 rate of perceived exertion where you can hold a normal conversation. So if you're going out with a friend and you can't hold that normal conversation with them, you're probably out of zone 2.
Yeah, if you're listening to Spotify and you can't sing along with the song, you're definitely in the wrong zone there. The other thing I will say as well, Chris, is like, you have to keep your ego in check here when you're training for heart rate, because you are going to be passed by the old dears in their heavy bikes with the basket on the front and maybe the dog in the basket.
Lad rollerblading.
Like, you are going to get passed out and you're going to think in your head, I could smoke this person, but you have to kind of hold it back. And the other observation I have from doing this low heart rate training for the last couple of months is it's very nice, because when you are sticking to 110, 120 beats per minute, you're not going through traffic going, oh, I got to get that green light. I got to get around that car. I got to get to the top of this hill really, really quickly. Your whole mindset kind of changes and it's a much more relaxing kind of time on the bike, very little aggro. And yeah, I really, really enjoy it. Dress warm, absolutely. Yeah, if you think, okay, I've got enough layers on, put on another couple of layers. But yeah, best of luck with that, Chris. Okay, next question, and this is from D.
Hola, D.
Hi, Sarah. Hope you're well. I'm hoping that you'll include this in next week's newbie questions. But Anthony, I just wanted to know what you guys think of the Paris-Roubaix event, or if you've ever completed it or heard anything about it. My friend is convincing me to sign up for the hardest route, 145 kilometers, but I'm very nervous. It looks very hard. Torture, to be honest. I don't think they call it the Hell of the North for nothing. Now, I've been road cycling for 10 years and racing for a few of those, but all just road. I've never cycled on cobbles or done much gravel or mountain biking. My question is, what is it like to ride on cobbles? And can any regular road racer tackle this? Or do you think we're mad? Thanks.
If she's been riding for that long, she should be fine on it. It's a road event. You don't need a gravel bike. You don't need a mountain bike, definitely, although it would make your life a lot easier, but be out there all day. Yeah. I don't see it as an event that I would love to go and do as an amateur. Obviously, I was never good enough to go and do that as a pro. And if I was, it just looks like aptly named hell. Like, it's miserable. It's dangerous. You see some of the crashes. I had Mitch Docker on the podcast, and he was talking about his crash going into Carrefour de Labre, because they go in so fast for position into Carrefour de Labre, the key cobble section, that if you go down, it's catastrophic. It's not much fun riding on cobbles, but this is one of the oldest races on the calendar. They've been riding it since 1896. And we've had some editions that have been, like, frankly, almost hilarious. 2002, it was wet, and I don't know how many times Hincapie crashed. He was on his arse more than he was on his bike. Johan Museu from that Doma Pharma Freights, a good solid doping team, took out the win that day. And each year now, because of that edition, I will look at the weather forecast in Roubaix for the week leading up to it, and I'll pray for rain. Because if it's rain, it's a slip and slide fest. Yeah. But I'd worry about that as signing up as an amateur, because it's at a time of year where it's possible to get rain. And if you went into the amateur event and you got a wet day on it, it's going to be so dangerous. I think even if it's dry, it's going to be miserable and not that enjoyable. You're going to be like jolted for the whole thing. I just think, maybe Haute Route, Flanders, one of those is a more enjoyable event.
Dee, I think that you should do this. Okay, so I have this theory that men always overestimate themselves and women underestimate themselves.
You go and do it then, Sarah.
Yeah, I to be honest, I would like to try it. Now, I would be like Dee, I'd be a little bit apprehensive about it. I mean, bike handling skills. And when you go to Roubaix, those cobbles, it's not like a nice paved road where it's like beautifully spread out. These cobbles are deep. There's a lot of space between each cobble. There's definitely the width of a tire, between that you can get kind of caught up on. So I can see it just being,
just not that much fun. That's why it's like, what are you looking for out of this? Are you looking for just an epic challenge?
Yeah, it sounds like that to me.
Well, what does an epic challenge? What is an epic challenge then? Are you looking physically to be exhausted, or are you looking actually to be in pain at the end of it? I think you're going to be in pain at the end of this.
If you look at when the women raced it last year, they came in and their hands were all bleeding. And I know that happens in the men's peloton as well. But okay, let's say Dee wants to go for this, okay? She is determined. Her friend has convinced her. They've had a couple of glasses of wine and they're signed up. They paid their money.
All good decisions are made. A couple of glasses of wine.
They paid their money and this is happening for Dee. Give her some advice around, does she tackle these cobbles with a bit of speed? Does she take her time? What about tire pressure the night before? Should she maybe use a gravel bike?
No, I don't think you need a gravel bike. All the road bikes now have slightly wider. They're able to take 28 tires. If you can use like a 28 tire pressure, I don't know, on her, very much dependent on her weight and the conditions of. For me, I'd probably ride something around 65 PSI. But I think Boone and Road years ago, they asked him on the start line why he wasn't wearing gloves. And he said, because it's gangster. I think wear gloves.
Wear gloves.
You're not a gangster, Dee. You're not a Tom Boonen.
Well, we don't know that Dee isn't a gangster. If she gets through Paris-Roubaix,
if she sent the questions, it's a newbie question. She's not a gangster.
She's been riding her bike for 10 years and doing some racing. I think Dee can absolutely do this. I would also say make sure that you have, your bike, Dee, a good bike fit, a saddle, a good chamois, all of that kind of stuff. Just take care of those little details and you'll get through this. And Dee, I can't wait to hear back from you when you complete this. And we can just say, we can be, you know what, Anthony, stick it. Okay, next question. Hey, Anthony and Sarah, I have a question about the group ride. Can you explain how a paceline works? This is hard because I tried to explain this when I was leading a kind of a beginner's ride during the summer. Shout out to all the dashers, trying to explain to them how to do a proper paceline. What I did was I actually did it before we set off on the bike. And
you're like Alex Ferguson, you got the chalkboard out.
Yeah, no, I had everyone stand like in pairs and then move
up.
I
wasn't there.
Oh my God, they hated me at the end. They were like, that bitch is so bossy. But it was like a good way to teach people how to do paceline while you weren't on the move, just like how to move properly.
So I'm a little bit confused by the question. So a pace line is a single line where one person, so if you've seen a team time trial, so if you've 6 people in formation, it's 6 people in a single line. So I might take, a 30-second turn on the front. I move slightly to the right and the person in second will come up and now they're the tip of the spear and I slide all the way back into last position. The person in the front rides for 30 seconds, moves slightly to the right, depending on the direction of the winds, he may move slightly to the left. And then the person in second wheel becomes the tip of the spear, which propels it forward. You don't really do a pace line on a Saturday group spin. You have up and over.
That's what I kind of thought this question was about, a pace line up and over.
Yeah, so you have a little bit of up and over on that where you have 2 lines and one is a progression line and one is a descending line. So if we're going to use an example, say the person on the right-hand side is moving forward in the progression line. So maybe you'll ride together for a minute or 2 on the front and the person on the right will ride past the person on the left and then pull across into the left, and the person behind on the right hand side that was in position 2 now comes up to position 1. Really difficult verbally to explain that. Graphically it makes much more sense, but you really don't need to figure this out. Like, unless it's a group of people who are total newbies all coming together, in the case that you went to a spin where it's all newbies, that's very rare. If you go to any cycling club, this has been going on, we say Paris-Roubaix is like 1890. They know how to ride in groups since then. Yeah. And that's the cool thing about groups. You go in there and there's somebody that's a month like of experience, or somebody that's a year of experience, somebody that's 10 years of experience. And in our group ride, somebody that's, Sean Lally Senior, he got 50, 60 years of experience. He's 83 years old and he rides with us every weekend. And you learn things from these guys all the time. And that's the beauty of the group ride environments, that you're always learning. So you don't have to listen to stuff like this.
Yeah, we have people come on our group ride and, the line is moving and they're like, oh, what do I do? Kind of like, and we love that. Like, ask questions. Don't be embarrassed about not knowing this stuff.
And it's normally the answer is just follow that.
Just follow that.
Yeah, because it's easier to be a part of it than to explain it in an abstract.
And it's so much fun riding in a group like that when it's really smooth and the line is moving up, apart from when you're on the front and you're dying. Talking about the original paceline, Anthony, and do you remember when we were out training in Mallorca and you were trying to teach me how to do...
I was trying to get you right through.
Right through. Oh my God, that is really, really hard. So you just have to whack it to get in front. Whack it while you're on the front. Whack it when you drop back. There's no let up at all. So that's zero crack. Okay, next question. Hey, Anthony, I recently had a crash out riding when I was descending and myself and a car collided awkwardly. One broken collarbone later, but the recovery physically wasn't as bad as this underlying fear I have of it happening again. How can I recover mentally from this and get back on the bike and perhaps get back to descending with confidence like before?
It is hard. You've had a couple of spills as well. Did they affect you afterwards?
Yeah, they stay with you for sure. And you're a lot more nervous. You stay a little bit further back from the wheel in front of you, where I'm certainly, when I first started cycling, Anthony and I went away and I was descending. I was following his wheel. I was doing everything.
Descending like somebody who never tasted tarmac, we call that.
Exactly. Yeah. Reckless, I would say. But after a couple of spills, like when we were in Mallorca the last time, you said to me, you're like, oh, since you've gotten better on the bike, or gotten more experienced on the bike, your descending has become poorer.
Start having awareness of what could go wrong.
You do. You're like, whoa, this could go really, really wrong. I really like my teeth and, I don't want to crash here. So you become a little bit more cautious. So yeah, of course, this is actually a question that we get in now and again about how to recover mentally from crashes. So
I think the type of crash depends how long it stays with you. If you have a big bunch crash and you're in a Sunday race and there's 100 people, someone touches a wheel and it goes down like Skittles, they typically don't stay with you that long because there's not much you could do to prevent that. Maybe someone will argue your position could have been better, but it's largely out of your control. I find the ones that will stay with you longer are the ones that are in your control, where you slid out because you didn't moderate your speed or you took the wrong angle going into a corner. But I think in general, there's a 4-step process for getting over these type of crashes. And the first part of it sounds a little bit cliche or corny, but bike riders, we have a tendency to just dust it down and on to the next. And the first part of the 4-step process, it's actually allow yourself to acknowledge that you did crash and feel the emotions that go with that and feel, okay, I actually am a bit scared to get back on the bike. And so many people gloss over that. And I think once you've done that, then it's a case of getting back in. I'd say step 2 is like gradual exposure. If you've had a crash at 60 kilometers an hour on a technical descent, don't go straight back into doing that again. Can you go, your local hill, which is a much shallower descent that's not technical, build up the speed on that until you get back to a point and adding a little bit on each time you go out. And then once you've done that, as you're doing it, I don't think these steps are like sequential, but they can happen all at the same time simultaneously. I think you need to look back and honestly learn and reflect on what's going on. We have someone in our club and the last couple of years has had a lot of crashes over and over again. And if you were to, in the cold light of day, analyze these, maybe you'd say, there's a pattern here that if we step back and we acknowledged that there's an underlying problem, you could go and address that problem. But when you just on to the next. And then I think the last one, the last part of the 4-step process is, like Dave Brailsford will say, control the controllables. Like, was your crash, which I've had many of them, where I slid out. That could be a tire issue. Are you using the right tires for the conditions? Or are you listening to, your social media influencer? Are you getting Puck Moonan's tire suggestions? Or are you actually going to trusted, experienced sources that are riding the same environment as you, that have the same, geographical challenges, the same type of tarmac? So tire choice, are you using the right brakes, general safety equipment? Control your stuff. After you've controlled your controllable, I think you just need to, as you'd say, Jesus, take the wheel.
I have certainly done that in some gravel races where I've been in places that I probably shouldn't have been, going at certain speeds I shouldn't have been. I'm just like, Anthony's like, how'd you get through that? And I'm like, oh, I just said, you know what, Jesus, take the wheel here.
Yeah,
That's not the good one.
Philosophy.
Any of the crashes that I've had, when I've looked back on them, there has been massive gaping holes in my bike handling ability. I was going too fast, my equipment. So yeah, take a little while and like reflect on what went wrong. Don't just, as Anthony says, back on the saddle straight away.
One of your takeaways from coming home from UAE last week seems to be you're going to get into this virtual racing. You're getting a bit money hungry. You're getting into virtual racing a bit more.
Yeah, so if anyone follows me on Twitter, you'll have seen that I was in Abu Dhabi during the week, and that's where I met Pogačar and got to ride around.
Pogačar met you.
Sure. I was saying that I was riding up front with them for a little while, and I so wanted to take my camera out and take a video selfie riding, and I was just like, oh, I cannot be the girl that takes down Pogačar.
Vindergaard Centre.
She's a hitman. She's a jumbo hit woman. But so it was amazing. I was over there with MyWhoosh and learning all about the platform and more about what they do and how they're trying to encourage this kind of online racing. Now, anyone who comes on the Tuesday night time trial that I host, that is brilliant. But there's so much more to the platform. And I wasn't really aware of the amount of racing and the amount of prize money.
One of my friends
available.
won $4,500 a few weeks ago racing
for
on
one
the
race.
platform for one race. I think it only pays, I can't remember if it pays 3 deep or 5 deep. I think he got third and he got $4,500. And he's been a continental level pro for a long time. And he said that's his biggest single payday ever. 1 hour of work, $4,500.
And you know what? Just because he's ex-pro, don't let that put you off, because the beauty about the MyWhoosh racing is I'm going to do it. So essentially it's basically categorized with your watts per kilo. So there is amazing prize money, even if you're at 2 watts per kilo, if you're in that category, which I am. There is amazing prize money in there for those categories. So like anybody can race. And in fact, as I said, the prize money is insane, but they can't give away the monthly allotment prize money for women. So any women out there who kind of want to make an extra few bob, who are like, I want to do a little bit of racing, dip my toe in this, have a little look on MyWhoosh. There is like a verification system that you have to go through when you race. So you will have to send them a video of you weighing yourself. This is just to make sure that people aren't cheating about their weight, their watts per kilo.
Don't take that video and put it on like OnlyFans.
This is all, nobody gets to see that. No one gets to see that. This is all done by some algorithm and some team over there, but it's not publicly posted.
There's no shame in you.
There's no shame in you. I met all these people when I was over there, and I'm like, oh, do I really want to send them my actual weight, which I'm really in denial about myself as well. But,
since meeting Pogačar.
Yes. But so there's a little bit of a verification, but they've made it very, very streamlined, and they've actually changed the verification process in the last couple of weeks. Now with the racers, you can't go into a sauna, sweat your ass off like a boxer, half an hour before your weigh, and then that will totally skew your watts per kilo as well. They are now starting to weigh people. You have to weigh and send them this video 30 minutes after the race.
That's a good idea.
So I think that will kind of weed out a lot of the cheating. It's actually one of the questions that I asked when I was over there is how much cheating goes on.
Loads.
Loads.
Not specifically on this platform. Every platform, e-racing is finding new ways. Look, we talked about this in a podcast. I think it was the Greg LeMond reaction video, which I'm not sure if it's come out or not yet. But anywhere where there's incentives, you're going to find ways to shortcut those incentives. And 4,500, depending on what part of the world you're in. Like, you're in the part of the world I'm in, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
The ingenious ways that people are cheating, I won't go into all of them, give all of you guys ideas out there, but people using hair dryers on their on their turbo trainers to change the calibration somehow. And yeah, loads of weird and wonderful ways that people are trying to cheat the system. But anyway, I am going to really get stuck into racing on MyWhoosh, and I'm going to basically have you all follow along, and I'd love to especially see more women jump in as well.
Right, check out Sarah's Twitter account for that. We'll drop the handle in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We'll be back again real soon.